what are some things that you should know about voting and polling day in Guyana? Stay tuned to find out. My fellow Guyanese, my name is Brendan Glassford and you are watching Clarity, where we provide clarity on legal issues that you have questions about. Before we begin, allow me to say this is an educational discussion. It is not legal advice, nor should it be considered legal advice. Now, with that out of the way, let's address the issues that you have questions about. So I'm going to tell you about some things that you should know about polling day according to the Representation of the People's Act. So the polls open at 6 a.m. and they close at 6 p.m. Once there are electors in the polling station waiting to vote at 6 p.m., they must be allowed to vote before the polls close. Let's bring the relevant provisions on screen.
Section 34, subsection 3 of the Representation of the People's Act provides that the hours between which the poll shall be taken shall be from 6 o'clock in the morning until 6 o'clock in the afternoon at all polling places in all districts, unless the minister shall prescribe different hours, being 12 consecutive hours for any polling place.
It is illegal to vote more than once for yourself or any other person. Let's bring the relevant provisions on screen.
Section 127 of the Representation of the People's Act provides that any person who votes on his own behalf more than once or votes in person on his own behalf when there is in force an appointment of another person to vote as a proxy on his behalf, or applies for a person to be appointed as a proxy to vote on his behalf without applying for the cancellation of an existing appointment of some other person to vote as a proxy on his behalf, or without withdrawing a pending application for such appointment, or votes as a proxy more than once on behalf of the same elector, or votes as a proxy on behalf of more than two electors, shall be guilty of an illegal practice.
Importantly, once you are on the official list of electors, even if you do not have your ID card on that day, you may be allowed to vote if your name can be found on the official list of electors for that polling station and you have another form of ID that the GCOM officer will accept, right? So no fear if you do not have your ID card, but you are on the official list of electors, you should be allowed to vote if you have another form of ID. Let's bring the relevant provisions on screen.
Section 75 of the Representation of the People's Act provides the presiding officer shall, in the event of his needing to be satisfied of the identity of any elector whose name is on the official list of electors, accept in lieu of the prescribed ID such other identification as is authorized by the Commission and entailing the same stringency for its generation as to leave no doubt as to its authenticity, as in the case of the ID, and permit an elector to vote in the same manner as if his ID had been produced.
If you are blind or otherwise physically incapacitated, the presiding officer has a duty to assist you if asked. They can vote for you upon your instructions, but it must be done in your presence. Also, if you are blind or otherwise physically incapacitated, you may take a friend with you who is also a registered elector, and once that friend has taken an oath, that person can vote for you in your presence. Let's bring the relevant provisions on screen.
Section 73, subsection 1 of the Representation of the People's Act provides that the presiding officer shall, on the application of any elector who is incapacitated by blindness or other physical cause from voting in the manner prescribed by Section 72, and who takes an oath in Form 21, mark the ballot paper of such elector in his presence and in the manner directed by him. Section 7-3, subsection 2 of the Representation of the People's Act provides that the presiding officer may, at the request of any elector incapacitated in the manner prescribed in subsection 1, and who has taken the oath in Form 22 and is accompanied by a friend, permit such friend, if he is an elector entitled to vote at the polling place, immediately after he has voted on his own behalf, and notwithstanding that his finger has been immersed in electoral ink, to accompany the elector in the voting compartment and mark his ballot paper for him, provided that no person may mark the ballot paper of more than one elector as his friend under this subsection, or mark such ballot paper unless he first takes an oath in the form prescribed.
So I hope we have given you clarity on those legal issues you have had questions about. Until next time, take care.